Hello, everybody. My name is Cheesette Cowan with Cheesette Stovall Ministries, and I am just excited to be able to take on this next stage of the Cultivating a Marriage Mindset advancement for marriages. I have the pleasure of speaking with Kanisha Berry all the way from Beijing, China, and she's going to be sitting in with us. Hey. And she's going to be sitting in with us for about the next 10 or so sessions, more if we need it, just to talk about the financial aspect of marriage. One of the things that I wanted to do is really touch on the heart of issues that affect the marriage. And Kanisha, we know that the three areas that make or break a marriage is finances, sex, and communication. So we talk about sex and communication in some of the books, but the finances are something that I think we really, really need to delve into. So Kanisha is the author of a 30-day devotional called Think Your Way to a Better Marriage. And one of the reasons that I asked her on this program is because in editing her book, I discovered a lot of things that she talked about in there pertain to financial oneness in marriage, and it's about making your marriage better. And then the light bulb came on that we have to have that in our marriage operating. The power of oneness where our finances are concerned. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time, kind of, Kanisha, to set that up, but then I'll just kind of fill in with questions, but just really talk about the importance of oneness in your finances and how that can take your intimacy and your marriage, even your sex life and communication to another level.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is that a lot of times what we don't understand when we're standing at the altar and the preacher says, and the two shall become one, we think I have his last name now, we're married. The two shall become one. We have to become one in every area of our marriage, every area of our life. And absolutely in finances. In my experience, and then within my family, and then other ladies I talk to, no one teaches us how to do that. So then we join together with a man who hasn't been taught how to do that. And we have this my mentality. So oftentimes that's the biggest problem in every marriage. We get married still in the my mentality. And we got to get to a place where it's our mentality, our money, our marriage, what's best for us, not what's best for me. And that has been the biggest obstacle because we bring so much into the marriage of like who we are. And if we have trust issues before we get married, they don't just go away. Like, you may trust the man with your heart, but then it's like, but can I trust him with my money? Can I trust, or that man may be thinking that, like, can I trust her with my money? Can I, that need to control something? So a lot of times that shows up in money. And then a lot of us was taught that, like, my father used to tell me to always keep a nest egg, that little bit of money that he doesn't know about. And for a while I tried to do that, but it, like you said, it just creates this separation still in the marriage.
And even though it's silent, it's still a separation.
Yeah. Because the truth of the matter is
areas.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that a lot of times we miss out on, is that we think we can have these little secrets in our life, and as long as our spouse don't know about it, it doesn't affect them. But it does affect them. It shows up in other ways. So money is definitely one of those ways that when it shows up, I've even seen God use our finances to show me that there's something else going on.
Wow.
Explain
that. Give me an example.
So, okay, like recently, since we've even been on the plan, we had an old debt. I'm putting everything on the table, so I'm sharing with you guys a lot. So we had an old debt when we lived in the UAE. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just that it's hidden. So I had an old debt in the UAE. My husband had decided to make an agreement with the bill collector to pay the debt, which I honor because I think we should pay our debt. But he, for whatever reason, decided he wouldn't tell me, like he was protecting me. Right? Mm-hmm. That week that he made that decision, the way the bills work here in China is you take money and you put it on your light bill. So your bill never goes up, it just runs out.
Right.
So typically we could put 400 kwai, which is $60, about $60, on our light bill for the month, and it runs the whole month. this particular month, the lights went out. And I was like, why would the lights go out? So we had to go downstairs and put more money on the light bill. That same month, my husband's wallet got stolen, right? So I said, Andre, what is happening in our life that God is bringing attention to our finances? There's something that we need to talk about that we're not talking about. He was like, I don't know, all I did was set my bag down and someone stole it. I said, I understand that, but there's something that's happening. Right. And I went to the bank account, and at the time he's not making the connection, right? Because most of the times none of us make the connection. So I happened to look at the bank account, and I saw the payment to the company. I said, who is this company? He was like, oh, I didn't tell you, but I made an agreement to pay these people. I said, why wouldn't you tell me? He was like, it was one of those things that I felt like I got us in and I wanted to get us out, and I just didn't, I just wanted to do it. Right. And I said, you see how withholding even a small piece of information, even though it was a quote unquote good thing, it wasn't a negative thing, right? Right. But withholding that, God wanted to expose it. Yes. And so he made sure that things would happen where I have to go and dig and look at things. Where before, if the lights wouldn't have got cut off, if Andre's wallet wouldn't have been stolen, because now I got to look at the credit cards to make sure that like the only charges are ours, not someone else's. Right, because it's I look a little deeper. Right. So I realized in that moment, because of our prior history, and I am one of those who study my life. I study my life because I believe God uses every experience to teach us something. Yes. And then I could see how in past times how God would take our situations and mess with something to bring our attention to our money. Right. And then what we used to do is we'll figure it out, but we didn't have a plan. And God was always saying, I need you to pay attention. I need you to do it differently. And I'm like, oh. One of the things that I want to get out of these sessions with you is how to have a plan, because like you said, most people have never been taught about money. So when they hear a plan, they automatically revert to somebody's in control. See, right. You have a plan, and see, this is what I was explaining to a couple people that I know, and it's hard for people that don't have a financial plan to understand. When we have a plan, I guess for me, for my marriage, I don't look at our finances as my husband makes $15,000 a year and I make $15,000 a year. I don't look at it like that because we're one. So in my mind, we make $30,000 a year, if that makes sense. Yeah, but absolutely. When people, they don't look at finances like that, it's hard for them to really grasp that, because to me, in order for us to have a plan, I have to know what we bring in and what we put out. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember historically, because there have just been different times in our relationship where my husband made more money than me, and then there have been times where I made more money than him. And I remember a friend of mine back then saying to me something very derogative, like, there is no way I would let him tell me what to do with my money if I made more money than him. And I was just like, but what happened just a few years ago when he was out banking me? What was I supposed to do then? Right. So it's that mentality. First, we got to check our mentality. We got to check our thoughts. Check our mentality. You got to, like, you have to, one, I love how scripture is so different than the way we typically think. Yes. And that is why the Bible is always saying that level of thinking. Yes, that's why the Bible constantly tells us, renew your mind. Renew your mind. Because our thoughts are crap. It's like, you know what, it's like, she said, it's like we live in a junkyard, right? Right. And every now and then, because we find a little piece of treasure, we don't want to leave the junkyard. Right. When God is saying, I want you to live in the treasure, and maybe every now and then find a little piece of junk. Right. But we get so content in the junkyard, and just because we get a little trinket every now and then, we get excited. No, we got to clear that junk mind type thinking. So let's talk about some of this junk mindset.
I'm gonna name one. I'm gonna name one, and you. I'm gonna name some, and you name a couple. Part of the junk mindset is my husband doesn't feel like a man if he doesn't make more money than me. Or part of the junk mindset is what your mother said or what your parents told you. You always better have a little bit of money to the side just in case. That's part of the junk mindset. Part of the junk mindset is I should be able to spend what I want and my husband should just, make up the difference for my bad decision making. Stuff like that adds to our inability to come together as one. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And then that mindset that what's mine is mine and what's his is mine.
Right.
Or, well, he make more money than I do, so I should be able to keep all my money. Here's the thing. If you are a couple and you decide that, that's okay. Right. But if you're a couple and your husband is saying, that's not going to work for us, babe, you got to reconsider that.
Right.
And another junk mindset is, well, my daddy did that for my mama. You ain't married your daddy.
And you not your mama.
And you not your mama. Right. So we have to one, be willing to reshift our thinking if it's not working.
But here's the thing. Some people fail to realize when it's not working. But here's another thing. This is where I am now. It's working, but it can always be better. You have that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. And as long as we have that, we ain't in the perfect will. So I know that it could be better. So even though what we have works, I'm like, we have to get to the next level. That's why I'm opening up this piece of the marriage mindset, is to really help people, not to say you need to do your finances this way, but to trigger a thought that would get them to say, God, can this be done more effectively?
Yes. And I will say too, Cheese, one of the things as a wife we have to learn to do is, we got to be acceptable of the fact that men think very differently than the way we think. We got to accept
the money.
And we can't accept it under the idea that, he think different, but if he thought like me, it would be better. No, he's not going to think like you. Think about it. God didn't even create us the same way. Mm-hmm. He never intended the woman and the man to be the same. That was never the intent. Right. He intended us to be dependent on one another. That's why he made sure that, there was a joining when he put us together. Yeah. But as women, we have to stop trying to believe or think that our husband has to think the way we think, do it the way we do it, or it's not done well.
Or
then or vice versa. But then we have to learn to pray and really submit to God's will. Yeah. Like in our own life, so that we're not trying to force our husband to submit to our will. Yeah. Because he's not going to do it. No, and then when we allow God to take what I call it, like massage our heart and reshape that thing, then we can speak from a place where then we have an opportunity to watch what God is doing in our husband life. Because God gonna have to make the change. We can't make the change.
Right. Yep.
So with the finances, it's like, I know some women will say, well, I want to have a plan, but my husband don't want to have a plan. Okay. Well, you keep that in prayer. You keep that before God.
Right.
You create what you can. You do what you can. What you can't do, you have to submit.
And see, the great thing about, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for my experiences. When we got married, our church had financial counseling. So we had a counselor sit with us and discuss finances, becoming one. Because when we first got married, we had separate accounts. Right. And they were just like, okay, why do you have that? And we're like, it works. And they're like, but it's division. Mm. And they were like, you need to become one in that area. And we're like, oh, we didn't even realize it was division. Because like you said, I was always taught my money. And I had to, but I believed in the wisdom they had. So neither of us minded submitting. Like I told you, when we put together our budget, we did the 2 separate spending accounts just so we're not both swiping and end up paying extra fees for stupid stuff. But when they discussed that, now fast forward 3 years later, we're having this conversation with you. I didn't realize what they were saying was the requirement for us to become one. We just did it because we believed in what they were saying, but we didn't really realize that we were unlocking a power of agreement.
Right. And what you're saying, that unlocking that power, when we get God involved in every area of our life,
yes,
man, let me tell you, Cheese, I'll be honest with you. We make less money living in China than we made in America.
Oh wow.
On paper, we made over $80,000 together on paper. I remember when the lady showed me, I said, what? Where is it? Because I could never see it in America. I could never see it. We probably make half that now, because Andre is the only steady income as of right now.
Right.
We have more money. We have more money now.
You better preach.
Than we ever had before. We have more money in the savings account. She said, you know what, I'm going to tell you, because I like to look and see there's money in the savings account. I do.
Yeah.
We took a vacation. You know, we just went to Cebu 2 weeks ago. We paid for that. We paid cash money. We paying $2,500 cash for our flights, for our hotel. Now I spend the money. Well, that was for our flights and hotel. Then we pay to have spending money. This cash money. This is not credit card money.
Right.
Then I get home and I'm thinking like, well, because Dre had explained to me, he said, babe, I get paid on like the 31st or something. You know, our flight leave on the 30th. So I'm going to have to take some money from the savings. And whenever he said that, I get nervous. I'm like, oh, don't take money from the savings. We're in such a different mindset that when we got back home, my husband immediately on a Sunday in China, because you can do it, went to the bank, transferred cash money from his checking account, from the money here, to replace that money right back in his savings account.
Right.
It looked like we never moved. It looked like if you look at my bank account, you see we took money out of the savings to make things happen, and he put it right back. Right. We didn't try to negotiate that. For me, it's just amazing. We talk about it all the time. Like, can you believe that we got this much money and you don't work? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. God is in it, girl.
That's why I want to see people, because like I said, I see all this division in finances. If I hear another person say, well, my husband got this amount of money, I'm like, he do? Like, it's foreign to me because we don't have that kind of mentality. Like I said, we want the power of agreement. And the Bible says that if any of you two should come together as touching, that, that the power of agreement just works. And when we, like you said, we have this mindset that it will not work if we do it like that. And I think a lot of it is fear-based. Like a lot of women, like we talked about, you're different from your husband as far as, and I was listening to Dave Ramsey's course, and he said, you're always going to have a saver and a spender.
Right.
Probably all relationships have one person that loves to save and one person that loves to spend. And you got to find the balance in between. But I think what happens with a lot of people, they don't want to negotiate.
Right.
So they don't want to not save as much. They don't want to not spend as much. So it's just easier to keep our separate accounts. But having all of your money and all that stuff on the table, it just really, you build a greater bond of trust. So, we're preparing for the Financial Peace University. So we're going over everything. So, I'm showing my husband, okay. And, mainly when I say showing him, because I handle the books. I'm the administrator of our home. So I'm going over, this is how much Aubrey has in her college account. This is how much we have in our savings account. Just getting everything out, like I said, he knows, but it's like, okay, we're starting from now again for the next level. So we got to get everything on the table. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that. And let me tell you why. When you have, like I leave my credit card statements on the table. I don't have credit card debt, but I have like some reoccurring stuff like insurance premiums and the alarm and stuff that they charge every month, like recurring. It's just easier for me to do it that way. But a lot of couples have debt that their spouses don't even know about. Like, how do you have a credit card and your spouse doesn't know that you have a credit card?
Right. And I'm telling you, that is why, because see, God, he don't want you to hide things.
He doesn't want you to hide things.
No, and that stuff is showing up somehow or some way.
Yeah.
We used to live like that. We used to live like that. My husband used to keep like little stuff hidden, and I would too. Like I wasn't one of those women who shop and had to go hide anything.
Right.
But I had my little egg, So Dre be like, "Well, we broke." I'm saying to myself, "No, bro, you broke," because I got my little, high egg money. But what we realized is that right there, that form of you gotta hide something from me, I gotta hide something from you. It was so much deeper than money. It was so much deeper than money.
Oh, you better say that.
And when God said, "You know what, Kenesha and Andre Berry, I love y'all so much. I'm gonna tear this marriage down and rebuild it." He said, "I'm gonna tear it down." He said, "When I tear it down, I'm gonna make y'all get completely naked before one another." And we realized that because God had prepared my heart, I said, "Lord, you done brought me to the desert." He did this when we lived in the UAE. He literally took me to the desert. I said, "Dre, now listen, this is the worst thing that can happen to us. But when God take people to the desert, two things happen. They either die in the desert or they transition in the desert. You read the scriptures. Those people died because they wouldn't transition.
Right.
Joshua didn't die.
Right.
He said, "Okay, I'm gonna do something new in y'all because I can't do it in the old." So I said, "Andre, are we willing to let this marriage die, or are we ready to transition?" We both agreed we wanted to transition. And she said, when we did, I'm talking about you're talking about true intimacy. See, when I watch that, do you watch and I know I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit, but do you watch Mary Mary?
No.
Okay, well, on Mary Mary, Teddy and Tina, one of the sisters, her husband cheated on her.
And he could only do that if he had access to money that she didn't have no idea about.
That's right. And but you know what? Most importantly, he was hiding a piece of himself from her.
Right.
But now they went through. He got open with her. He got honest, and he said, "I love you, and I want what I was doing didn't have nothing to do with you." First of all, women don't understand that. Right. They think if a man cheat on her, that it's about her. It ain't about you, baby. That's his stuff.
Yes.
When I watch this couple, and Tina is as happy as she could ever be. I read people blogs. They call this woman a fool. They say all this. They don't know. She's not a fool. They don't know. They don't know how God has opened up Teddy's heart. First of all, he healed his heart.
Yes, God.
Because see, this man was having a lot of relationships because he was broken in a place. He was thinking that his marriage could fix it, women can fix it. And God said, "No, baby, I'm the only one who can fix it." So when people talk about how Tina fool to stay, no, Tina got a brand new husband.
She got a brand new husband.
Then God broke her. He broke her because he was like, "Listen, girl, you selfish.
Yes.
You self-centered. So
and she changed as a result of that.
That's right. So she changed. And so now they're two new people, and their intimacy level is totally different. I know what that's like. That's what me and Andre is. Our intimacy level is totally different. Like literally, I can stand naked before my husband now. I don't have to worry about nothing. I don't have to hide. I ain't talking about pull my clothes off. I'm talking about full-heartedly naked.
Yes.
And he can do the same with me because he can share with me that where he's weak. He can share with me where he's afraid, and it's not a bad thing.
And he doesn't have to use money to go out and purchase to cover himself up in the areas that he feels weak in.
That's right. And he doesn't have to hide it with the credit cards. And as a woman, we hide it with stuff and thinking I can secure my own security by, I'm going to tuck my little nest egg. Just because you ain't learned to trust God.
Right.
You see,
that money ain't your security anyway.
That's right. That's right. Because God can blow it up. Look, whatever you think is your security, he can blow that right up. You be like, "Oh, I thought I had $20,000. Girl, $20,000 ain't nothing to God.
Nothing. And
but
he can do it with 2 than you can with 20 anyway.
I told you we living on half of what we used to make.
Right.
But it's all exposed, It's all exposed.
So this is very good. I'm thinking of one of the young ladies in particular in the Women Submitted group. She was talking about how, and I want to kind of finish up because I want to kind of keep these a little short, but I want to Um, I want to just touch on this subject since we're talking about intimacy. She was saying how she's doing certain things, far as like, let me just an example. Like, let's just say getting food stamps and not counting her husband's income, so she could qualify. But again, that level of thinking is really just, to me, a bigger issue about trusting God.
Yes.
I was like, do you trust God to provide? Because I got a check in my spirit about that before, when I had gotten food stamps before, but I really needed it at the time. But then when the redetermination time came, I had gotten a job and I really didn't need it at that point. So it was like, okay, you got a decision to make. Are you going to tell the truth and say you making this much money, or you going to lie so you can keep your money? But I'm going to tell you what led me to speaking the truth in that area. What led me to speak the truth? It wasn't the fear of God, or even that I trusted God to take care of me. It was fear of the United States government. that fraud. For them little bit of food stamps, they be putting people in jail. I mean,
that's right.
I was scared. Like, how they say you don't play with the government? I was scared. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just tell them. But when I was talking to her, when we were talking about this area, she said, I think it's really a desire for intimacy that I have with my husband. And I believe that just based on this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it too, and that's the thing. That's why we got to go deep, and like we got to see what that thing is. I'm a root seeker. I always tell people, and I think sometimes that's what keeps me from always connecting to people, because I have a hard time connecting to the top layers of a thing. I like to go right to the bottom of it, like, oh, that's and I'm gonna tell you how God corrected me on my trust issues with Him with money. For me, it was as simple as going to the movies. My children were maybe 3 and 5 years old. I was taking them to the $1.50 theater, and whenever we would go, we would always go to the Dollar Tree to buy the snacks. I had put them in my pocketbook, and we go inside. Right now, this is my conviction. I'm not trying to convict other people about my stuff.
Right.
So, but cheese. Now, that's one thing that was my decision. But to hear my 5-year-old son say to my daughter, Brianna, you need to hurry up so we could go by the store and hide the candy in Mommy's pocketbook.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, oh, my God.
You really?
What am I teaching him?
What are you teaching them?
What am I teaching him? And then God took me to a proverb that talked about that. It talked about integrity. And I was like, and so I'm driving all the way to another time to the movies, right? And I was like, okay, Lord. But it's not even wise. It's not even wise to pay $5 for some candy I can get for $1. He said, really? That's the conversation you want us to have? He said, why don't we talk about the fact that you don't trust me enough for the $5 for the candy? I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
So
till this day, I do not, whatever we do, I don't lie about my kids are younger than they are to avoid paying the price. And I don't sneak stuff into places, because God convicted me there. Yeah. And He showed me this is not about the cheaper candy. This is about you not trusting me to provide.
But see, you know what it sounds like to me as you're speaking, because I get those level of convictions, and I'm sure we do in the different areas where God is developing us. It sounds like He was preparing you for the next level of glory, or to go to the next level, because we know that judgment, and judgment doesn't have to always be a bad word, just correction, the release of a new plan always comes before you can go to the next level in God. You can't go to the next level doing things on a level down here.
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing I feel like we miss in life, like the idea that, and I'm sorry to hear that lady is choosing food stamps over that next level, because that's what she's kind of doing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say you're in the junkyard.
Yeah.
And you get a little treasure, and you think that, okay, well, the junkyard is good because every so often I can find a trinket. That's a trinket, baby. That ain't nothing.
To God. Amen.
To God, no. He wanted to take you out of the junkyard.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with food stamps because I'm like you. I've used food stamps.
Yeah, I have.
But it's it's the mentality of, okay, am I going to try to beat the system? Right. Am I going to always try to get a hookup?
Right.
But I think like that's the most detrimental thing to the Christian spirit is that you think you got to live at hookup level instead of at God pouring the blessings out. I can trust you for it level.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say that my husband and I are starting the Financial Peace University. We were supposed to start Friday. Guess it's gonna start on Monday because we just didn't do anything this weekend. Journaling our progress. We're gonna be sharing this with people, and Kanisha, we want to invite you on a journey because I feel like what transpired in your life, and just so you know this, like you really inspired me because here we are, just and we do well financially, but I'm just like. You know how Nehemiah talked about having them holes in your purse.
Yes.
And I'm like, listen, we got to patch this thing up, God. Because we really should be. I mean, Kenisha, we are so serious. Like right now we have we're getting into preparing ourselves to go to the next level. We are even considering giving one of our cars back to the lender. So that we can take that payment and pay off the car that's big enough for our entire family that we actually need. We're not playing, but I'm telling you,
you don't even have to give it back. Sell it. Put it out for sale.
Thank you.
Because God wants to honor you.
We'll do that too. Praise God.
Do both. At least try both routes.
Okay, good. But all I know is we were just thinking he only uses that car to drive back and forth to work. After he goes back and forth to work, he doesn't use it. So we were just like, if I'm home during the day, I don't really leave. Wait, what? Why are we paying these 2 car notes? But I'm telling you that when I read your book, and you got to tell me what this is because I've been saying it wrong. When people agree, when a married couple agrees on finances, they what?
Their value. They're agreeing on their values. That is a
value.
That is a what's his name? That's a Dave Ramsey quote. Yeah. When I saw that thing hit me in my forehead.
That thing it hit me too because I said, Lord, we want the power of agreement to operate in every level of our life. And I'm like, do we really agree on our values, or are we just agreeing on this budget? And can we go deeper? And that's what I'm saying. We can go deeper. So what was the quote? Because I
got it. It says, when a couple agrees about money, they agree about life. The flow of money represents the values under which your family operates.
That is
awesome. When you agree on your value system, you will reach unity in your marriage.
Okay, can you post that
I sure will.
In the Women Submitted group tonight? And so right now, I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and thank you for just opening up this subject. Like I said, what I really want to do is I'm hoping that in this dialogue, which is very just relaxed, that people get a thought like I did when I read your book. It was a seed that was planted. I read it and it just planted a seed, and that seed just has been germinating, and it just has been speaking to me to now fast forward, and it has begun to put forth a harvest in me. So I'm just really looking forward to just this next level of intimacy with my husband, just really being able to and I think it's a beautiful thing when you can honestly say, like I said, I know so many people and one person doesn't know what the other spouse has. They're like, oh, if I need the money, I can get it from my spouse. I'm like, they got it and you don't know it exists? But they don't see anything wrong with that because, like I said, that's why my mother taught me. Yeah. But then another thing that you said on the last time we spoke is to get focused on the goal. So then now I'm not telling you what you can't spend, and you're not telling me what I can't save. we're just doing things based on this goal that we set.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm
gonna tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and we got to close this up, but just when Dre and I sat down to do our budget for April, because we had to put this budget together before we left on our vacation, and the budget had to shift because we was taking a chunk of money for vacation, right? It was the cutest thing. I said to Dre, I said, I wish I could record this. He was like, what? Because we were literally arguing but laughing because the way he sees things, like my husband process. He takes the number, he takes whatever the big number is, and he's little by little breaking it down. That's how his mind works.
Okay.
The way I process is I take it all, add it together, and then subtract it from the big number.
That's how my mind
works. Right. So our method was different. So he was saying, well, babe, this is this. I'm like, no, it's not, it's this. And then I started laughing. He was like, why are you laughing? I said, because it's great that we are communicating in a way that we, know that, like, I'm never going to get your method. I'm never going to get that. That makes no sense to me.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, because your method makes no sense to me. I was like, but because we both know the goal, we ain't even tripping.
Right.
And when I said that, he said, well, I tell you what, you do it your way and then show me the numbers. And when I gave him the numbers, he said, that's what I told you. It was the same thing.
Yeah, it was the same thing.
It was the same thing, but it was just the way we see it. So, but because we have a goal, we don't have to argue about the method anymore. And because we're on the same page and because we're so transparent about our money, there wasn't that argument of like, you trying to get something I ain't gonna get. You know what I mean? Like that the background argument. So we think we're arguing about one thing, but in the background we're showing up here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm afraid you gonna get me or I'm gonna get you. So we weren't having that argument. We was having the funny argument of like, man, the way your brain works.
It's beautiful.
It was so beautiful. And I was like, babe, this is the coolest thing ever. He was like, I know, right? Because before we would have been like at each other about the money. But so now we were like, it's this method.
So let me ask you this. So we're embarking on this Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. And I know you and Andre have, successfully did that. What did that do for your marriage?
You know what? It cleared things up. It brought clarity. Okay. And when you said we did the thing together, because my husband works full-time and I'm like you, I was a stay-at-home wife, I did the physical work. I sat at home, got online daily, wrote down the notes, read the stuff, and then I would share with Andre.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you for freeing me up.
Yeah, baby.
And I say that because Carrie's like, I'm down for it, but how many hours a week I got to commit to this? He like, listen, like, I'm down, but I don't know if I want to be sitting here doing homework. And I was like, well, we got to do this together. But this is why we have these dialogues, because I am physically able to do that. And like you said, he works all day. So when he comes home, he's just like, I don't know, as soon as I walk in the door, just be at the computer or the TV crunching numbers.
Yeah, and what I would allow, and Dave is good. He's really good. He talks about it too. He talks about how you have to allow your partner to be who they are. And so I would say to Dre, I said, here's the thing about the budget. It's not set in stone, Andre. You can change this. You can move this around however you want to. And we
have
agree.
The authority to do that as the head.
Yes. So I'm not saying like Dave, and what I love about his program, he doesn't tell you that you should have this amount of money for groceries, this amount of money for spend money. You decide based on your household, whatever. But he's just saying you need to have an address for that money. Like for me, going to the grocery store used to be hard, Cheese, because I never, you buy what you need, right? But you never know how is this going to affect next week. Because I got to get it because I need it.
Don't get me started on the grocery store.
Yeah, but now with this budget, we literally we take, how much do we need for, food stamps taught me that. Yeah. How much money do we need? How much money does a family of four need to live a month? We had to get on food stamps.
About $400.
They gave us $630.
Right. See, I got 3. So
I said, okay, if the government says that we can live on $630 a month, a family of 4, that's where we're gonna start.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna start. So that's where we started, right? But now, then we living in Beijing. So what we learned was in Beijing you don't need $600. But we had a starting point. So I took that $630 and I divided it by 4, and that's how much we spend a week on groceries.
That's good.
So when I go into the grocery store, let me show you my little, and I know we're gonna have a deeper discussion on this.
Yes.
This is my little envelope for grocery week 1, and I go into the grocery store with my week 1 groceries, the money in here, and I just keep a tab. You know, what do I need? Can it be covered by this? Our money translates to about 800 kwai a week.
Okay.
So if I spend every dime of that 800 kwai, I know I haven't affected the rest of my month.
Right. But then
That's what I love about it.
When we did the envelope system, what I found happened, and I know it was because God was just showing us favor and grace because we were starting out in that power of agreement. We had like 150 or 175 a week, and miraculously at that time I would only spend like 125. So the end of the month would come and I'd have $200 extra, and then we'd be like, okay, I'm gonna take 100 and blow it. You take 100 and blow it, and that would be like our little reward for doing well.
Yeah, but because you had that budget, you got to see it.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the budget, you wouldn't have realized that you're spending less than you thought you had to.
You know what? That's awesome.
You would have just been like, okay, well, this week the grocery was 125. Next week is 115. But you wouldn't say, but we have set aside $150. Babe, do you realize we set aside $150 and it doesn't take that?
Right.
If you don't have it set up, you don't know. It's like you don't have a margin.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love the envelope system. And I love having a budget because every month I can go back
and look
and see, like, oh man, now the debt, like the credit card debt is lower. We just paid off another credit card this month.
Okay.
And I was just like, babe, you sure you want to pay off that one? He was like, we got the money to pay it off.
Right.
So now we're looking at one credit card for him, one credit card for me, versus where we had like 3 or 4. And we sometimes still use it, but we always try to make sure, like if I order something from Kohl's, I order it the next month. I'm ordering it using my credit card because I'm in China. I send it to my mother's house. But when I get paid next month, that's going to get paid off.
Right.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I am just excited. We are going to just continue this conversation. I do want to get into budgets, financial planning, in the envelope system, but I feel the need to let's meet again next week to really kind of just talk a little bit more just about the fears behind becoming one, just all the myths and just how to have those conversations and just be honest with your spouse. Say, hey, I've been taught this, and this is how it affects how I deal with money, and to be able to pull that information out your spouse. And then also, like you talked about, just this myth that the husband just has to do everything where the finances are concerned. And like you said, it's like whoever's best at it. I mean, like I would love for my husband to handle the finances, but if I was to say to him, okay, you're the man, you're in charge of the finances, he would be like, huh? He doesn't, he's like, listen, I just want you to let me know what our budget is. I'm gonna give it the once over.
Yeah.
Because I trust your judgment in that area, I'm good. So, things like that. So just really kind of just because a lot of women, I know, they won't take the time to put together a plan because they feel like that is out of order. Like I'm going over my spouse's head. And it's like, no, because if your husband was the CEO of Apple and he appointed you CFO, you would be the one, the chief financial officer. That doesn't mean that everything starts and ends with you because he's the CEO, but the CFO is going to be in charge of these finances around here.
That's right. That's right. And, and we got to come out of that because I heard this one minister say something I'd never heard a minister say before. He said, where did the idea come from that the man only has the voice? He says, because if you look in the Old Testament, when the leader, they always had a prophet speaking to them. Mm-hmm. You got to think about it. Like, even like when Saul was the leader, even though, it wasn't God's chosen leader, he had to hear from a different man of God. God didn't speak directly to him. Mm-hmm. Then there was times when David, he had to have a prophet come and speak to him what God said. As the wife, sometimes we hear it, so we got to speak it to our husbands.
Yeah.
We can't leave it all on him.
Yeah, you're right.
You see what I'm saying? We have to. That's why we got to make sure our relationship is strong in the Lord, so that I can clearly feel like, babe, I think God is moving us in this direction.
Yeah.
And he'll say, okay, well, let me pray about it. And then what typically happens with Andre and I is we agree. Like, he'll have the idea independently of me, and then we'll bring. He's like, man, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's how we really know it's God.
And then you probably confirm a lot of things that are in his spirit. Like it may be a thought, but it's a fleeting thought. And then when you say it, it's like, oh, I gotta grab hold of that thought. Yeah. So I want to talk more about those kind of things. I appreciate you taking the time. I am just excited about what opening up this subject is going to mean for the body, because I'm really after freedom. The freedom to really be able to obey God and do what God tells you to do without the financial strain of this world. So I thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. And I guess we'll set up a time, in the next maybe week or so to just start getting these recordings. I told you I want to get quite a few together and then start airing them the first week of May, and then giving people a chance to be interactive. And as it grows, we'll invite people on. And then I told you I'm be waiting on your book where finances are concerned. So just get going on that.
I better start writing down these things we're going through. I'm so busy trying to teach people to conquer fear, Cheese.
Well, the good thing is incorporate this into that, because they got a lot of fear where their finances are concerned.
They do. And I really wish people understood that everything they do, the decisions they make, is oftentimes because of fear.
Yeah. And we're going to be free from that. Thank God, in the name of Jesus. I call us free from that right now.
Yes.
That's wow. That's powerful. Most of the decisions people make are fear-based. Wow.
Yes. And it's so sad, because we're supposed to be free in Christ.
Wow.
We're supposed to be free. We are free, but we got to choose to live like we're free.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much, and we will connect again soon. All the way from China. Thank you.